Hey there, Amplifiers. Thanks for tuning in. We have got a great show today because we have an awesome rockstar professional who's really taken some action to achieve massive results. He is not just twiddling his thumbs and wondering what to do. He jumped in the fire and he's taking the steps to take to really be positioned as the expert in his industry. He is not going to be chasing around clients. They're going to be coming to him because he knows his stuff, he knows his craft. And today we're going to be talking about some things that he has done to help him develop a business that is thriving and really helping transform lives of the people he serves in his targeted industry. He's the founder of Simple CFO Solutions, and I'd like to welcome to Growth Amplifiers, David Richter. David, thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me, Kenny. I'm super excited to be here.
Super excited to have you here. You know, I've checked out your website, your videos, you've got a book, you got a lot of awesome things going on. I'm curious, how did you get started in your journey and why did you decide that this was the path for you?
Oh man, that's a long story. I'll try and make it super short. My background when I was a kid, I just heard the same story as like in the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was just go to school, get a job, all that. Like that's how I grew up. Then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in college, and that totally changed my mindset. And that's when I got into real estate. And let's just say in that real estate business, we scaled it up to about 25 deals a month. So like you see on HGTV, we were flipping a lot of houses every single month, but we were spending like 26 worth of deals out the door. So it's like, who cares? We're doing all these deals and there's no money at the end of the day. That was a big tip off to me of like, okay, is this just me? Is this other people? Quickly found out lots of other people in the same boat as business owners, especially in the real estate investing world. That's where that does not have a great ending. That company kind of blew apart. I started to working with another investor and I moved across the country with my family to be closer to other family. Then in that business, I helped him turn the finances around, and I had zero financial training other than the school of hard knocks, seeing a business basically implode and knowing the numbers and like honestly just sitting with the CPA and asking a ton of questions. Like, tell me how to read these stupid statements. Like I have no idea how to read these reports. And I remember asking him at the front, like, what does the N stand for in P&L? And he's like, that's an and. I was like, oh, it's not, that's profit and loss. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm like, I was asking the dumbest questions, but I didn't care at that point. Then I helped this guy in Richmond, Virginia area where I moved to. And within 3 months, like he had the same issues everyone has. No books, no numbers, no nothing. Just a running, gunning it, doing deals, making money, making sales, but nothing to really show for it at the end of the day. And I'm like, here, we got to at least know where you stand. Like that's the very first step. Like we don't even know what kind of story your business is telling you. So went in there and helped clean that up. And he came back to me and literally just by helping him know what he made, spent, and kept, like he said, this has been transformational, like to my life, to my business, to like being able to pass some of this stuff on to my kids. That's where this current company that I own, Simple CFO, was born. Cause I'm like, I want to give that feeling again to people. I want to give them that feeling because so many people are out there making money as business owners, but feeling broke, just like this guy was. And I'm like, I can help him. I can help him at least see where you are and then make better decisions to get where you really want to be. So that's what kicked it off. And the company that I have, and granted, I'm still here. This is 5 years later now. Still don't have a background in finances. I personally hate numbers. Like everyone looks at me and like, yeah, you're a numbers guy. I'm like, just because I own this company and because I look like a nerd does not mean I like the numbers. So I'm like, I just tell people that. And I'm like, no, I don't, but I like what the numbers produce for people. It produces peace of mind. It produces like the stability. It produces confidence to make right decisions. That's what I wanted to give people. And that's why I started the fractional CFO company that I have today. I could talk about the book and other things, but that was the catalyst for starting the company.
And so we're going to celebrate a win. What is a notable win that you've been like, this is a moment that I could say, toot, toot. I feel proud of. It's a great accomplishment on my career.
Oh, man. Well, definitely my book. I feel that was a labor of love out there. It was so during that journey of starting my business, a mentor of mine, as I was like pretty scared to jump into it. This is really the first real business I was starting. I had some side businesses before, side hustles, that type of thing. But while I was working for someone else, and this was going to be like jumping both feet in. And one of my mentors said, "Have you read the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz?" And I'm like, "No, what's that? Sounds interesting." And then he's like, "Well, if you're starting any type of financial company, I would just at least read the book." So I read it. I'm like, okay, this is great. This speaks to me as an entrepreneur. I could get this message across to other people. So that was one of the foundational pieces that we started implementing in Simple CFO, as being like one of the tools that we gave people was the Profit First system and cash flow management. And I was seeing success. I'm like, okay, I really like this. And I really like the message behind it. And people aren't, they're not getting it. They're not paying themselves without someone just guiding them or at least telling them about this stuff. So I went to Mike about 8 to 12 months into my first year of helping people and said, like, could I write Profit First for real estate investing? And that's how I got the deal signed there with Mike Michalowicz to write that book. And it took me 18 months to get the book out the door. It only took me 3 months to write. Took me 3 months to write, but I wrote a lot of words, and it had to be cut, edited, rehashed. Like, I am not a professional writer whatsoever, but I did care. I cared about the other people on the other end. I had a very good book coach at that point too, because I had never written a book. I'd written like a little 50-page like ebook type thing because I wanted to try and write something one time, but this was like a 200-page book, something that I wanted to get out there and really help people. And so that to me was definitely a big accomplishment now. What is it? It's been almost 4 years, 3 years and some that book's been out there. And that's where it's like, I just want to help more people. And I knew a book was going to be able to help people where I couldn't necessarily work with everyone, even if I had a company, and that was helping lots of people. And that's why I like the book too, not just the sake that I did it, but it can speak to anyone. I feel like in our niche, our industry, because it's like, if you're doing one deal, like, be profitable from that first deal. If you're at deal 1,000, like, stop being unprofitable with your deals and start being profitable. So that's why I liked it a lot. So I would say that's definitely one where I'm very glad we got that book out the door.
I'll give you a shout out for that, just acknowledging that, because there's a lot of people that, number one, they might hear about like Profit First and the opportunity to be a Profit First professional and be, I'm just going to think about the cost. Or then they think about writing a book and they think about maybe the cost or the time with that. And you're taking bold action to achieve bold results. So that is awesome. Big shout out and salutes to you for, stepping into that action.
That's so funny that you even said that about the money. Because, like, don't we all have hangups with money? Like, we all do. And I'm like, that's where there's not enough of our type of people, the niche business owners, especially that's helping people on the financial side, because there's so many marketing companies and agencies and like sales companies. And I feel like there's even more operation type companies now and like helping with the operations and build, an operating system type thing. Like, we need more financial people out there that actually know what they're talking about, but can also communicate simply. That's why I like this concept too, because I felt it was a simple way to communicate to an owner, where so many financial people just speak their own language, the Cantonese. And it's like, the business owner does not speak Cantonese. Like, that's where we've got to make sure they understand what you're trying to get across. It's not just a process or system you're implementing. Like, you're helping them with their money habits. Like, so that way they don't go at a huge opportunity like I did and be like, oh, is this too much?
I really like what you said there, because a lot of times people think, oh, I know this. Oh, I know this already. It doesn't matter what you know, right?
Right.
Knowledge
Yes.
is potential power. It's applied knowledge that is power. And we got to get out of our own ways. I also, like you mentioned, Profit First has kind of like coaching to help people learn the Profit First methodology. And then you mentioned you had a book coach, and there's people who might be, maybe they've heard of Profit First, maybe they haven't. But then they think, oh, I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. It's like, well, it doesn't, if you're not doing it, if you don't have the result, then do not shoot yourself in the foot. Work with somebody that might have a little bit of knowledge, help you see your blind spot, and challenge you to take new actions and achieve new results. People need to hear that message. I can't tell you how many people, it just frustrates me to see that they think, we know what we need to do. We're just failing. I'm like, you're just failing on purpose? What's going on here? Champions have coaches. Successful CEOs have coaches, entrepreneurs. It's important. I think we get caught in that ego game of thinking, we know everything. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to flip the coin on you.
Okay.
We're talking about wins. So now what about challenges? So you've started this business and you've had some great progress and some successes. What has been one of the challenges that you faced on growing this entity of the business? What
Yeah.
is something that you faced and maybe you've overcome it or you're working through it? Or what is a challenge that you
How much time do we have? Just kidding. That's where I think one of the reasons why it's grown so much, the company, the people in it, like just everything, is that I'm willing to make more mistakes than most people. And I'm not even like, I grew up a people pleaser. That's one of my traumas from the past. So it pains me to make mistakes, but I will go out there and do it. I will go out there and at least try, because if there's the hope of helping someone, I want to do that. I will say one of the biggest things I've had to learn, there's different levels of leadership as you grow. And I think that's one thing that is I'm still working through, and I don't know if I'll ever arrive there where it's like I have it all figured out, because people are the most important component of the business, not just because to help you get your message out or to do that, but it's like because they're humans. Like, this is not a bot, this is not a system, this is not AI, this is a human being there. So it's like that's where sometimes you're going on the same direction, and then sometimes you start to have that fork in the road. And I've done that with several people on the team where I've probably kept people on too long in a position where I shouldn't have, and should have had a direct conversation a lot sooner. And where other people see the writing on the wall, even with coaches and mentors. And okay, you want a huge tip here if you're married? If you're married, sometimes your spouse can give you insight, even if they're not a part of the business, every single time. Every single time I've had a person issue, my wife had said something about it like months ago. And I'm like, okay, if my wife says anything, you're on the chopping block right away now. Like, I need to either see an immediate turnaround or not, or we're gone. But I will say people and working with people. I will say one thing that I was able to work through. We run the EOS system.
Mhm.
So in our business, so at one of our annual meetings, I think it was 2 years ago now, had a leadership team there, and we did the exercise. Our guide there, EOS guide, had a little exercise doing the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and from Patrick Lencioni. And that's where that bottom one is trust, and then conflict, and go through all of it. But the bottom one is trust. So I'm like, oh, we're pretty trusting group. I'm pretty open, all that. And then other people, like as we went around the room, we're giving the scores 1 to 10, and some people were starting to give 6 and 7s. I'm like, what? Because I gave like an 8 or 9, and they
Mhm.
were giving. And I'm like, what's going on? And they said, we feel that you don't trust us when you jump in and solve everything for us. Like, you put us here on this team to help you. You got to trust us enough to help you. And I'm like, oh, dang. So first, thankfully, because I've had good people in my life, I didn't go off on them. I said, thank you for being open and honest and for telling me. And it's like, I need to work on that. Obviously, like, that'll be one of the big things this next year. And that's something that I constantly have to work through, because if you're the solopreneur, you are doing everything. And it's a hard transition for a lot of people, business owners, to go from solopreneur to managing other people, because you have to trust those people that you've put on your team to do the job that you've given them. You can set parameters, guidelines, but there has to be a certain set of leeway you give them as well too, to perform that function. So I would say leadership and some of those challenges with people is some of the stuff that I've gone through that have probably been the biggest hurdles in my business.
One of the things you mentioned that I think is great is being able to look at a focused area, or maybe it's a more holistic area of the business, and creating the space to get everyone's perspective in a trusting environment.
Yep.
Because people will have those insights. There's issues, but then without that facilitated space to communicate it, a lot of times people won't pipe up. They'll just be like, well, I don't want to offend anyone or
Right.
get anyone upset. And so then those things don't get addressed. And the owner only can see their perspective. Everyone has a blind spot. So I really like that you had that meeting, and also you gave that understanding that when people are giving what could be considered as constructive criticism,
Oh yeah,
you
for sure.
you acknowledge and welcome it and take that as it's intended so that you can address it. Because I know you know the answer, but if you would have came down and on the people that gave that feedback, what might have happened there?
Right.
Right?
You're just you're shooting yourself in the foot. Then they won't
Oh,
bring up the issues the next time. It's
yeah.
just
Oh, I
a
told
vicious
him what
cycle.
needed to be. I told him his pie was ugly, and then he shoved me out the door. So I'm not going to ever
Right.
tell him that again.
Not going to ever say that again.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing those things.
Yeah.
People need to do that and make sure that they have that into those sort of opportunities baked into their process. I see a lot of people don't have something that's creating that space for their team members, and they're just kind of like checking the box, getting things done, and then they're missing that opportunity to continually improve. Speaking of improving, we're going to talk about growth for a moment. So as you've worked to grow your business and find more clients, you have the niche. What have you done that's been effective for you to kind of get more opportunities, find more prospects, and then guide them to become customers? What have you done that's been effective for your business?
Number one has been speaking, whether it's a webinar or in person. I find a lot of those through mastermind events and the specific niche type things, you know, whether it's a meetup or whether it's an actual mastermind where it's paid members, that's usually the best place. Because if you could get a warm audience, because then if they listen to you, they at least know you. Can you convey that you're trustworthy? Can you convey that you know what you're talking about? That type of thing, that produces usually the warm leads. So that, that come in that actually say, okay, yeah, I actually do need this. And what is it all about? So I would say that's number one. I will say that connection and network is a big thing too, because that's how you get those opportunities. So it's going to those things, getting your name out there, not being afraid to tell what you do, not being afraid to go there, or just actually getting out of the house and going to it. Because sometimes it's just taking that first step, that foot out the door, even if you don't want to, or it's during an inconvenient time or whatever it might be. I would say those are some of the biggest ones. We've done other things before in the past. I would say the book is a good one too. That one brings authority. That one also brings that if anyone buys it, then, in there, it's like, okay, do you need this? If you do, if you're so new, you can self-implement this, or if you need our help, just give us a call, so that's where, and it was funny because you say people at the beginning, you had mentioned, people being attracted and like they want to seek us out. I just had a guy this weekend on Instagram message me and was like, I'm reading your book. How do I get on a call? Like, I know I need this stuff. And it's like that type of stuff I love, because then I don't have to pursue that person. I don't have to be emailing them, texting them, doing all the campaigns and the funnels and the drips. It's literally like, well, here's a link, and then he sign up on the link. It's like, that's exactly what we want to happen. So how can you put things like that where you're more of the authority? That will get you up and running. Honestly, that got me to 7 figures plus just by speaking. Like, no ads, no crazy stuff. I wasn't spending a ton on, marketing companies and all that. Not until I got to the 7-figure mark. I just basically built it on speaking and networking for the first few years. So I would highly recommend, if you're if you're under that 7 figures, you can do it by getting just in front of the people. But you also, if you have a niche, then you should be able to find them by Googling, like, is there a meetup? Is there somewhere to go? Is there a mastermind? I would highly recommend joining, even if that was some of my heavier expenses, was joining different masterminds, and like just being a part of those masterminds. But those were going to be paying people who already paid money to be a part of a group. And usually those groups, those masterminds didn't have a financial person in it. So since that's my niche, is the financial side of things, I was like, okay, this is a great place. So it's just taking a few extra steps and thinking, where are the people that I want to serve? Where are they already spending money? And where can I help them, from where they are right now? So those are the types of things that I thought about up front. And thankfully, and that continues to work. Even as we do paid stuff, I still like speaking or webinars or that type of thing, speaking for someone else's group, because that will just always produce the warm lead flow versus you going out and having to reach out to people that don't know you from a post.
That's one of my favorite things, is just, have your thoughts aligned, put it out there in, I love the book form, and then be able to share. You're sharing and engaging with audiences. You're giving them ideas, sharing something that might change their perspective. You're not looking to push anything on them. You're solving some of the problems that they had. Hey, I have a challenge. I don't know how to deal with it. Oh, this person has a path that can help me improve that challenge and come to the solution. Why would I not want to kind of like lean in and learn more about them? Oh, they help people like me actually resolve this. It's my favorite way too, is do that authentic relationship I think we can get caught up with the technology and the different strategies.
Yeah.
But I think if you just build up with
Is this going to be
relationships,
videoed? Is this going to be videoed? Like, do you send the video out to people, or is this just podcast? Because like, if people can see
video.
me, then yeah, if you can see me while we're talking, like, I am an introvert. I am a nerd, just at heart, and I'm like, I love just reading a book in a quiet corner. That is me to a T. Like, I don't love being on stage. I don't love that stuff. That was a lot of stuff though. Like, okay, my wife had us take this personality test thing, and I've
Hmm.
taken so many of them, but this one was really good. I really like the one she had. And like, there's red, blue, green, yellow, and I'm a red and a green, and I'm like split in the middle. But I've had to
Hmm.
become a red, which is more of the speaking leader, like moving a company forward, just because I've got a company and like I've got to be that. But my green is like the natural environment where I'm like, please don't talk to me. Like, just let me sit over here. I just want to just be calm, cool, collected over here in this corner. So if you're thinking like, I can't speak, I can't do that, like, honestly, even today, I've now spoken, I think, hundreds of times, whether it's virtually, podcasts, webinars, speaking engagements in person. And it's, you just have to put in the reps too. Oh my gosh, if you saw my first slide decks, oh man, it would be so embarrassing. I probably still have them. So
I
it's
could beat you one.
yeah, I'm
So
sure. I
so I
don't
went through
know.
Toastmasters. Are you
Oh
familiar
yeah,
with
yes,
Toastmasters?
I went through Toastmasters too because I'm like,
This
I got
month.
to figure this out. Yeah, right. It's like, oh yeah.
So Toastmasters is a nonprofit organization that helps
Yeah.
people develop their communication and leadership skills. If you are like, I'm not good at speaking, consider checking them out. I was used to being in front of an audience because I played in bands and on
Okay.
stages.
Yeah.
But when that's different than speaking and giving a speech. I was
Very
so
much.
bad. I was giving a speech one time to a college on search engine optimization that I was boring myself to sleep. I was like,
Oh
oh my
man.
God, I'm sorry, guys. I really thought I was going to do a good job here. I'm giving the information, but I didn't know how to present it. But what I like about what you said is you've got to be able to put in the reps. And from going from really being bad to someone who can be a paid speaker, right, and entertain
Yeah.
an audience, you can do this too. So if that's your excuse, I'm not good at speaking, don't let that be excuse. No one wasn't, well, some people are naturals, but a lot of us weren't.
Oh yeah. There
And we
might
had
be
to get the
naturals
reps
out
in.
there, but a lot of us aren't. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to be
um,
good at something, you got to be bad at it first. So you might as well just get through that pain relatively early on because it's going to come sometime. So it's just like get through that, whatever it might be, especially if you're a business owner. That is the best way. Just getting in front of people, get in front of people, talking to people, and sharing what you have to share. Like that, you've got whatever it is. Like, why did you start your business? If you're listening to this, why did you start it? Like, you didn't start it to cower in a corner and not make money and not do the things that you're not like that you're not getting what you want to. Like, that's where sometimes we got to put our big boy and girl pants on and say, like, I'm going to do the hard thing at this point because like that's what gets you what you really want to do. And I'm not even perfect at that. There's some times where I'm like, I know I should be doing this thing, and I'm like choosing not to do it. I'm like, dang it. Well, I know the ramifications of this. So it's like, good grief. But I'm glad that I've made enough of those choices to at least give me the opportunities now to say yes and no. At the beginning, you're saying yes a lot if you want to grow. But like, there is a point, I will tell you, there's a point where you can start saying no because you want to say no, because you say, no, this is not a good opportunity for me. This is not someone that aligns with us. This is not the thing. And like, you want to get there as fast as possible because you might be just growing your business and like bringing anyone in that just is breathing, and like that will cause you headaches and hurt. So it's like, do some of the hard things up front so you can get out of some of those time and money chains that are around you right now, like to get you where you are. Sorry, that was on my soapbox. Pass it back to you.
what is either book or a podcast or a tool or something that you'd care to share might be helpful for those tuning in?
Oh man, a book or podcast or something like that. I really like Keith Cunningham's books, sort of The Road Less Stupid.
Okay.
It's a great book. It's all about asking the right questions in business because all of us are problem solvers as business owners, but we're not asking the right question. So he
Mm.
teaches you how to ask the right question, and he gives you a book full of questions depending on what your issue is that you're going through. That's one of the best books that I can recommend if you're a business owner. Teaches you to be a CEO too. A lot of people just don't know how to be a CEO.
That is true. That a lot of us didn't get started in our business because we had the background of
Right.
being a business owner.
Exactly.
we, we knew the trade. So David, if people wanted to learn more about you in your business,
Yeah.
maybe they might have an interest themselves, or maybe they could know someone in the industry that you serve. Where could they go and what should they do?
So if you have someone that would like to work with us as a potential client, that'd be simplecfo.com. If you're out there and you're a financial professional and you're like, I might want to work with them as a CFO on our team because that's what we provide is fractional CFO services, it's simplecfo.com/join. So you just add that word at the end if you're like, hey, I might be interested in this. But if they go into the main page, they'll see the schedule a call button right there at the top if you've got someone that we could potentially work with. So thank you for asking.
Really cool. Thank you for sharing. And then as a closing piece of advice, what is something that you might tell someone on their journey? It could be related to industry, it could be anything in life, but just something you'd care to share is to help others on their journey.
There's so many things. So I would say build what you want, even if you have to get that mentor to pull it out of you. A lot of people just don't know what they want from their life, from business. So you could be building something and one day you wake up and even if it's awesome, you say, what did I build? Like, this sucks. And it's like, so you could be going down a road other people think you're successful, but at the end of the day, you don't like what you've built. I don't want that for you. So I would either sit down, there's the 7 levels of why where you could get really deep. You can have someone pull it out from you like a mentor or coach or something. I've had mentors and coaches my whole entire career because I cannot rely on myself. Like I need other people and good people in my life. So that's where I would try and get what do you really want from your business, from life. And that way, because like I'm a husband, I'm a father. How does that relate to the business? And how do I make sure that business is not overshadowing that portion of my life as well too? It's like you really have to dig deep into who you are as a person. And you wear probably a lot of different titles like that: business owner, spouse, father, mother, whatever it might be. And it's like, that's where, how does this all fit in? So that way I'm not building something where I'm like, I'm making a lot of money, but I never see my kids, or see my kids all the time, but they're wearing rags because I'm never working in the business. It's like we got to figure out what do we really want and how do we make sure that it is as balanced as possible.
Thank you for those words. And as always, if you're tuning in, take something from this conversation, write it down, reflect on it, and take a new action because it takes new actions to achieve new results. David, I appreciate you for being the amplifier that you are in the world. You're making a difference. You're changing people's lives, and your energy and charisma is really off the chain. So thank you so much for joining in to Growth Amplifiers, and thank you for tuning in. Make sure to put comments, subscribe, thing of that nature. We want you to be tuned in, taking new actions, achieving new results. Thank you so much. To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.